So we're continuing our database theme today. We're going to talk a lot more in detail about um, kind of how to set up your database and what you could be saying based on who is in your database. This is something that's taken directly from Tom Ferry, who is arguably the #1 real estate coach in the country. If he's not #1, he's #2. And he just came out with a podcast last week on how to set more appointments. And this is a lot of where that data came from. It's something that we're doing as well in our business, but we're still implementing some of these changes. So let's get started. All right. Think as big as you possibly can and base what you do, how you do it, and who you do it with on succeeding at that level. It's a Gary Keller quote. Gary often says you overestimate where you could be in 1 year and underestimate where you can be in 5. Those of you that have been around our goal planning sessions or our business planning sessions have heard me talk about this. You should intentionally set goals that scare you. Your goals should be so big that you have to get uncomfortable to achieve them, because it's not about achieving the goals. It's about who you become in order to achieve those goals. So if I have a goal to sell 36 houses a year, I should base my activities around 48. It's not that I'm going to plan on falling short of my goals, but if I get comfortable or if I get uncomfortable to try to stretch myself to do 48 transactions, and everything that I do is based around that, how many contacts I make, how many people I need in my database, who I need to bring into my world as far as referral partners and team members to get there, it makes the world, it creates the world that's going to be needed to succeed at that level. So I want you guys to be thinking about that as we go through today. And what we've been talking about a lot with the month of February and just leading into this is adding to the database or having a database big enough so that you can achieve your goals. I'd rather you overshoot than undershoot. So we've been talking about 250 as the baseline. What would it look like if you had 300 or 400 people in your database that you could communicate with systematically? Now, in the database, I want you to think about, we're going to use 250 a lot here as kind of the base number, because that's what I want everybody to strive for. Obviously, some of us have more, some of us may have less, and we're working on the 250. You're going to have 5 basic categories in your database. Now, within each of these categories, you may have an A, B, C. That's not what I'm referring to. This is not in lieu of that. These are 5 different tags that every single one of you can have in your database. They seem pretty obvious, but we're going to talk about each one in detail today. So #1, homeowner. If they own the house that they are living in, or they own a rental property, they are a homeowner. If they own property, they're a homeowner. If they do not, and they are renting somewhere, they're a tagged home buyer, because they would need to buy something. Now, not all of us have past clients yet, but as you start to have a past client, every time somebody closes the transaction with you, you should tag them as a past client. Regardless if they're an A, B, or C, you still want to tag them if they are a past client. Same thing with referral partners. If you have people that regularly send you referrals or help you generate more business, tag them as such. Tag them referral partners. These would be 2 different tags. Vendors, everybody in my database that's a vendor is tagged vendor. I will actually have 2 separate tags where I will have vendor as a tag, and then I will have electrician or plumber or contractor or fence or landscape or painting or whatever the category is that they do will also be a tag. And that is so when Mike texts me and says, who do you like for electrician? I can say, check the database. There's a tag for electrician. Then all the contact information will come up. And it's a lot quicker than me trying to find it in my phone and send it to them, especially if I'm at an appointment. It also helps yourself if somebody texts you and says, hey, who do you like for plumbing? You don't have to have your plumber's contact information memorized. You can go in command and send a screenshot. And then agent partners. These are agent referral partners that do not live in the area. These are people that you can send business to, and they can send business to you. Now, let's talk about ways that we can communicate with each one of these. Now, homeowners seems pretty obvious, and yet people that own a house, you're going to send different types of content to versus people that do not. Yes, everyone in the database gets tagged and gets my monthly newsletter. However, there are other things that I can do to stay in touch with people based on what category they are. So if they are a homeowner, they're going to find more value in our preferred vendors list than somebody that does not own a house. If you are renting, you do not care necessarily as much about plumbers, electricians, contractors, painters, fence, landscapers, etc., because that's the property owner's job. Or if you're in an apartment, it's the property manager's job. However, if you own the house, you would find interest in those type of things. Answering FAQs before they even bring them up, frequently asked questions or objections on how to sell and buy at the same time can be valuable. If you do seminars related to how to sell and buy, or if you want to make video, or if you want to have personalized content related to how to sell a house, that's what you would do. You would reach out to the homeowners with this type of content. I have it in blue because it's probably the most important thing on this list. Home value updates. If they own a house, they care how much their house is worth. Even if they're not thinking about selling, that can be valuable for a couple of different reasons. One, they just want to know because it has to do with their net worth or their equity. Two, if they're thinking about doing a refinance. And then three would be if they are interested in investing, whether it be in real estate or not. Sometimes that equity can provide cash for them to invest in. I have a client right now not thinking about moving, but he was curious and used his home value update to drop his PMI because now they have enough equity in their house where they did not have to wait the full 11 years for it to drop off automatically. They were able to reach out to the lender and say, hey, do an appraisal. I think I owe enough in my house now where I can drop the PMI. And they did. And their payment dropped like $100 a month. And they were able to still keep their 3% interest rate from when they bought the house. Neighborhood statistics. These are in addition to things that are selling, which is kind of the next stat, which is just sold in the neighborhood, but also the number of homes on the market, how long they're staying on the market, what the turnover is. If there are events going on in the neighborhood, those type of things can be valuable to homeowners. Matter of fact, in Command, if you put their address, it will tag them as their neighborhood, and you can start pulling that stuff pretty easily. Same thing with open houses. This was one straight off the Tom Ferry podcast. If I know their address, anytime there's an open house in that neighborhood, they should know about it from me. Questions or comments on homeowners? All right, cool. Let's talk the opposite side of things. Home buyers. Still getting our newsletter. And yet the content that they're going to get or the vendor info, et cetera, that they're going to get is more related to I've never bought a house before or I don't currently own. And so what would be applicable to my story or my process of buying a house? They're going to need to know more about what a home inspection is, who your preferred home inspectors are. They're going to need to know about homeowners insurance, what that means, what it covers. If you have a preferred vendor, who that is. A lot of times they are first-time home buyers, and so they're going to have more questions because they don't know what they don't know, and you want to be that source of knowledge or that educator on this. And then again, FAQs, the more content you can build where you're educating them on the process of buying a house, the more likely they are to call you when the time is right. These are just some examples, but they're some of the most important. We've talked about this before, but most people that have never bought a house before think that you need 20% down to buy a house. Obviously, we know that's not true, but we have to share that with them. Types of loans. Most of us, if not all of us, got an email last week about FHLB coming back. That is a grant for certain community heroes or service providers in our community. That is a great piece of content that you can share with home buyers. Hey, we have this grant available where you can receive up to $15,000 to buy a house. If you are a nurse, a teacher, firefighter, a police officer, etc. VA loan. It's great to share information about a VA loan with anybody that's a veteran. I closed a VA loan last week. The interest rate was 6% even, and the buyer got a check for $1,500. He brought zero money to the table and walked away with $1,500. Do you think that's powerful for other veterans to know? Time frame, this is a big one. Most people have no earthly idea how long it takes to find, go under contract, and close on a house. More importantly, most people don't realize that if you close in 1 month, you typically skip a month before your first mortgage payment is due. This is a great opportunity to follow up with people that are renting. So if my lease ends in May, if I close in April, my first mortgage payment's not going to be till June. I don't have 2 payments. I can then use the month of April to move out, and May would essentially be my last rent payment, and then my first mortgage would start in June. And then appraisal, there's a couple of different things I like to do with sharing what an appraisal is. Most importantly, I like to explain what the difference between an inspection, an appraisal, and a tax assessment are. If you do not know the difference between those, a home inspection is a third party checking your major systems and safety and structure concerns of the property. It is a snapshot in time. It is optional, and it is the buyer's expense. Tax assessment is how much your city or county values your home at. It is typically only based on size as far as bedrooms and bathrooms, square footage, and then obviously, most importantly, area or neighborhood. It does not necessarily take into account what upgrades are done to the house. Typically, your tax assessment is the lowest benchmark of value of the property. And then your appraisal is a third-party valuation of your property. They are licensed. They are oftentimes hired by a bank or your mortgage company. If you're getting a loan, they are most often required. And they're looking at recent sale data to justify or validate the sales price for the property. As a buyer, your appraisal is important because this is what protects you from overpaying for a house in normal market conditions. During the COVID times, we saw a lot of this waived. And then if you're doing any type of first-time home buyer or how to buy a home seminars, those would be your invite list would be your home buyers tagged in your database. Questions, thoughts, comments on home buyers, or anything to add that I left off? Cool. Let's keep it moving. All right, past clients. This is intentionally green because this is where your money is made. Not just past clients, it's also referral partners. When you are new, you are looking for folks that are willing to send you business. Remember that script or dialogue that we've used in the past. If you came across somebody looking to buy or sell in real estate, do you have an agent you would refer them to? If the answer is no, I want to be that person. I stay in touch with people pretty regularly. We do things like client events, pop by gifts, monthly email newsletters, and more. Is it okay if I add you to my database and we stay in touch? If you own a house, I can also provide free custom home value updates whenever you want. These are your bread and butter, or where you're going to spend most of your time in your database as it grows. In the beginning, obviously, it's the smallest group, but as this number grows, almost all of my business comes from this category. They are either past clients repeating with me, or they're people sending me referrals, whether they're a past client or just a sphere of influence referral partner. The rest of the business that I have comes from the next 2 categories. Now, this is really where that number in your database becomes important. The more referral partners I have and the more past clients that I have that are willing to use me again, the more rinse and repeat business I will get. the more volume I can generate out of my database. Items of value or wow gifts are things that you do that do not require anything in return. We're going to talk about 5 laws of value at the end. But these are things like giving a preferred vendor list, wishing them a happy birthday with a video. I know that's above it with birthdays. It can be coupons to businesses. Questions, thoughts, comments on past clients and or referral partners. Now, I like to use this part as a reminder. This is also going to be most of your category of A, Bs, and Cs. Now, A's, remember, multiple referrals a year. If a past client calls me up and wants to sell and buy with me, they're an A. That's 2 deals a year. If they want to buy an investment property and they send me a referral, that's an A. It's 2 or more per year. B's are 1 or maybe 1. And then C's are unlikely to refer me, but I still want to stay in touch with them. My goal is to not have any C's in this category. I want all of my past clients to turn into referral sources, even if they're not thinking about moving anytime soon. I still want them to refer anybody that they come across looking to buy or sell. That doesn't always happen. And I have had some past clients become real estate agents. So they're obviously not A's or B's. However, I like to joke and say I did such a good job as their agent that they decided to become one. Now they're a competitor. All right, vendors. They still get your newsletters. Most importantly, you should be co-branding or doing B2B marketing with your vendors, especially the ones related to the sales process. Lean on your lenders, your home insurance, and your home inspectors to provide info or FAQs to your home buyers. Lean on your contractors, your plumbers, your electricians, etc., to provide value to your homeowners. The painter I use gives me $100 off coupons that I can send to my clients anytime they need painting. It's an easy co-branded B2B marketing that I can use. Anytime somebody calls me up and says, hey, who do you like for painting? I'm like, well, A, it's my brother. But B, here's a coupon. We talked about this in the team meeting 2 weeks ago. Lean on your lean on your vendors for sponsoring things like events. Now, preferably you would have already sent them business before you asked them to sponsor things. Technically, they're still competitors, Lynn. Yes, I get profit share. She asked if you bring your former clients into KW, they are not competitors, right? Technically, they are. I have a past client that came into Keller Williams. He's at Keller Williams Richmond West. I'm at Keller Williams Metro Center. So yes, I make profit share off him. However, he is going out for buyers and sellers just like I am. Now, technically, my database is different than his database, just like all of you on this call. I go after different people than you do. However, there is a chance that if we both go after expired listings, we are interviewing for the same seller. It can happen. And in that case, we're competitors. And I guarantee you, if that ever comes up, the seller is going to ask, what makes you different from me? Because we're with the same company. Now, it doesn't happen often. And that's one of the nice things about Keller Williams is we are a culture of sharing. And so we try to teach to grow by your database because that's how you avoid some of this conflict. However, it does come up. Remember, we've talked about this in the past. The average homeowner or the average person is being marketed to by 7 realtors at any given time. Matter of fact, agents that used to be on my team, specifically at the other office, got mad at me when they left my team and I continued marketing to past clients that they had worked when they were on the team. First of all, they signed a team agreement that said any contact or any client that they closed while they were part of Eden Properties became Eden Properties. And second, my response to them was, if you think I'm the only agent contacting your people or what you think are your people, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. And almost every single one of them was, because this was right during 2023 when things were getting really tight. So we want to make sure that we are communicating with our people regularly so we stay top of mind, especially if they live in a neighborhood that is being farmed by another agent. That is not to say that you have to spend a bunch of money to go try to farm it, but you need to make darn sure you're staying in touch with them in other ways. If I have past clients and referral partners that are coming to my client events, they're getting called from me quarterly, they're getting a monthly email from me, they're getting invited to things on Facebook, they're getting invited to free Zoom seminars. I'm wishing them a happy birthday. I'm wishing them a happy home anniversary. It's going to be really hard for another agent to take that mind share from them because I'm occupying that space. Now, it doesn't always happen. This is not a perfect science. I have had past clients in the past use other agents. Does it stink? Absolutely. My first thought is, what did I do wrong or what did I not do enough of that allowed them to choose another agent? Did I do something that upset them during the transaction? Did I not stay in touch with them after the fact enough? Sometimes it's unavoidable. Real life scenario, their husband started working with another agent or another agent's wife or something like that. But basically they developed a personal relationship with another agent that I had no control over. It just happens. Which is why we rely on a quantity to get the quality. We have to have enough people in our database because you're not going to get all of them. Another strong thing that vendors can do is they can leave you testimonials. If you go on the Eden Properties Google page, one of the top reviews most recently is one from Jackson. He left me a testimonial. I left him one. You should be having your vendors leave you client reviews. Life can get lifey. Fachet. Yes, absolutely, Linan. It does happen. Any questions, thoughts, comments on vendors? All right. And agent partners. This is an untapped category for a lot of people. It is also the reason why I am at Keller Williams. There are other reasons, but this is the number one. Not only does Keller Williams as a whole teach a culture of sharing and a culture of referrals, and they base their whole existence around that. This is also how I am on 100% commission split, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Every year, I make enough money, whether it be from referrals to me or referrals out that I send to other Keller Williams agents, that cover my $20,000 cap. So I send enough business to, and I receive enough business from other Keller Williams agents that nets me $20,000. So it does not cost me anything. And technically it's $23,000 my goal because I want to cover that royalty fee too. But that means it does not cost me anything to be an agent at Keller Williams. More importantly, I would not get that business if I was not at Keller Williams. And I've tried and true that. When I left, I didn't get any referrals. These are not people that I bring in. These are relationship partners that I build throughout the company. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. The best ones are go to things like family reunion, mega camp, masterminds, ALC clinics, Anytime there's a regional clinic or regional training thing, Krista went to one recently in the fall. Those are how you start networking with agents. Another big one is social media groups. There are hundreds of Keller Williams specific social media referral groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. The masterminds, if you go to Maps Coaching, or if you just type in Google Keller Williams Mastermind, they'll pop up. Now, some of these cost money. So family reunion, mega camp, masterminds, those cost money to attend. Now, not all of them do, and some of them are much more inexpensive than others. For example, a regional trainings in Roanoke or in Virginia Beach is going to be cheaper than family reunion in Vegas. However, when you go to things like family reunion or mega camp, that's tax deductible because it's education, coaching, and training category. Now, if you go out to happy hours or socializing, etc., all of that might not be tax deductible, CCPA. However, your plane ticket to and from, your hotel room, and the cost of the training itself will fall in that category. Number one rule from the MREA book is lead with revenue. So if you do not have the money to go to one of these things, don't worry about it. A lot of times they have a virtual option. I have not seen any details on family reunion being virtual yet this year, but it may be there. And even if it's not, there are other ways that you can network with agents throughout Keller Williams. Another example, I'm going to show you a command, maybe. When you log into command, there's a little icon over here that's got a little person and it looks like a location tab. Click this. Click map. From production, change this to market centers. You can see the Keller Williams market centers across the country. If you have certain states that maybe family live in or friends live in, or you know people that are relocating to or from, zoom in on those and start connecting with agents through command and reach out to them in the areas that you move. So I'll use a real life example. I have a lot of friends and family that moved to Florida. If I zoom in on the Sarasota Siesta Key area, which sidebar is my favorite part of the country, personally, I can click the market center and come up here and start finding agents to connect with. Now, what I like to do is I like to sort it by closed units. So I know that I'm working with an agent that produces. Now, I don't necessarily have to take the person at the very top, but I will at least look for somebody along here that's going to sell quite a bit. So I know that they are producing. Oftentimes, if I click their profile, if they've selected it, it will tell me, okay, in the last 12 months, she's closed 16 units. Now, if this says 1,000, they probably already have a strong referral partner or they're a part of an expansion team. Your sweet spot here is going to be in that like 10 to 40 number for total closed units. You can then add them with this little plus sign. You can also send them an email. You can send them a text. And if I add them, I will send them an email and I'll just introduce myself and say I'm looking to build a larger referral network within Keller Williams. And I'd like to add them to my database. I ask them for permission to do that. They always say yes. And then I have a specific newsletter that goes out once a month that's directed towards agents. It's shorter and less content than the other one. However, it's still me giving value. A lot of times I'm sharing what we went over in productivity coaching, what worked for us last month in our business, like what our number one lead source was. And if I was on a training or I attended a mastermind or I had a guest speaker come to our market center or I went to the ALC clinic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I will share a nugget from that. I'm a part of the KW talent community, which is all about who to hire, how to train, et cetera. And when they have trainings, I get the recordings. And so part of my agent partner specific newsletter is, hey, I was on a KW talent training last month that was all about the value web or how to pay people. Let me know if you'd like the recording. I don't just offer it. I want to connect with them. So I tell them what I have and I say, if you want it, reach out to me. In my database, I can tell you, oh, wrong one, hold on. I have somewhere like 120 agents or something like that in our database. So if I come to filters, I go to tags, they're tagged agent. Actually, let's tag agent newsletter. That's an easier way to find them. 135. So I have 135 agents in my database that I communicate with at least once a month. That's where those referrals come from. Now, 6 months ago, that number was like 30. I made it a priority to add them to the database. I connect with them on the social media accounts like the Facebook groups, LinkedIn, and then that command referral map. I don't just add them. I will add them to social media, send them a message. If they reply to the message, that's when they get added to the database. If you are new, which all of you are, this is also a great way to build, whether it be role play partners, to build just resources of knowledge. Most agents that are in Keller Williams that are willing to be a part of your referral network are going to be willing to share with you. One of my top ones in this category is an agent by the name of Amanda. She is in Orlando. She built her own networking group out where she meets. It's like a BNI group where she meets with different vendors every month. They call it Coffee and Contacts. I've modeled things off of what she does there. Her coach is in Tampa. He is also in my referral world. They are the first two people that I connect with anytime I have somebody move into a part of Florida that I don't have an agent in. Both of them closed transactions for me last year, and I made $10,000 off two people. Two deals, really. They are also the source for agents that I should know. David in our group has somebody moving out of Lake Placid that wants to relocate to Richmond. He asked me who I have in Lake Placid. I didn't have somebody. So I called Chase, who's in Tampa. He said, it's not quite my area. Amanda may cover it. Check with Amanda. I checked with Amanda. She said it's about 2 hours outside of my zone, so I don't cover it either. Give me a few days. She went and interviewed 3 different agents and picked her favorite and then sent that to me. And then I sent it to David. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just sharing the name. Now, quite honestly, Eric, the agent that they sent to me, is now in my database, and I'm going to communicate with him repeatedly too, because I want him to know that I'm a source or available for his referrals as well. But if I ever have anybody move to Lake Placid or move out of Lake Placid, he's the first one I'm going to call. It's a slice of the pie. It's not all of the business, but this should be a part of your lead lever that you start to build. Do not spend all of your attention on this. I would give it at most a couple of hours per week on it. Questions about agent partners? All right. One more thing I want to talk about. Those of you that have seen the PC passport, hopefully all of you have, because it's kind of required. It came into fruition after some of you are already in this group. There's a book called The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. It is one of my favorite books. It is also one of Kim Giles' favorite books. She wants everybody that's a new agent in our company to be familiar with it. I'm giving you the one-page Cliff Notes version of it, so you don't have to read the whole book. Now, you still should, but this is in large part what the book talks about. There are 5 laws that will help grow your business or impact your business. They are intentionally in order. In my mind, they're in order of priority. Technically, you can move them around a little bit, but number 1 is always the most important. And this is intentionally a part of this database training because I want you to keep this in mind, especially law number 1, when you're communicating with your database. Too many times people are worried about asking for the business or asking for something in return when they're communicating with their database. If I send out a monthly newsletter and every single month it's asking for referrals, asking for referrals, asking for referrals, people aren't going to read it. I have to give value before I can receive. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than take in payment. The more I give to them, the more they will be willing to return the favor. There's another law, not a part of this book. It's part of a different book, but it's called the law of reciprocity. If I am being given value over and over and over and over and over again, there's a subconscious feeling that develops because we're all human that almost makes me feel guilty, like I have to return something of value back to them. So if I'm continuing to receive value, eventually I'm going to go, man, Mike keeps sending me all these different people, all these different vendors. He's giving me tips. He's giving me updates on the market. He's telling me how much my house is worth. I got to find this dude a deal. A, so he'll leave me alone. But B, so I feel like it's worth me giving or him giving me all this value. Now, number 2 is just as important. If not, it's a close second. Your income is determined by how many people you serve, and how well you serve them. There are a lot of agents that get very good at selling houses, meaning they're helping people buy or sell houses. They are not as good at staying in touch with them. Most of you have heard some version of this statistic of how many people are worried or how many people are willing to use their agent that they used before compared to how many people actually do. It's something like 80 to 90%, and this is according to NAR. I don't know the exact percentage off the top of my head, but you can look it up. And it changes every year, given some points. Somewhere around 80 to 90% of agent or clients are willing to use the agent they used before to move again. And it's less than 30% actually do. The reason why, we don't stay in touch with them. We don't stay top of mind. And more importantly, we don't give them value. So we're focused on how many people we can serve, how well we serve them. We want to nail them with that service. And then we want to follow up with them. That's the whole point of why I keep beating database home, is because we want to stay in touch with them. So when life happens and life gets lifey and they need to move, you're the one they call. Out of the 300 plus transactions I've done in my career, I've had one person tell me they were going to move in 5 years and actually do it. Ironically, they closed 5 years to the day. He didn't respond to any of my marketing in 5 years. No note cards, no texts, no phone calls, nothing. And then randomly, he called me out of the blue and said, I'm engaged, I'm getting married. We want to sell this house and buy something else. But I kept staying in touch with him. Now he's one of my top referral partners, ironically, again. Because I gave him a hard time when I went through this second time about, hey, man, I know you're not going to be the one moving, but I need the people that you know that are going to be the ones moving to reach out to me. And I stay in touch with him more frequently. People oftentimes cannot plan when or if they're going to move again. And most of the time, back to that Gary law, they underestimate where they're going to be in 5 years as well. I couldn't tell you how many times I've had people say, like, this is my forever home. I'm never moving again. And 3 years later, they're like, hey, I'm going through a divorce. I got to move. Or I got this job offer I can't say no to, and it requires me to move to Colorado. Or we thought we were done with 3 kids. We had our 4th. We need more space. If you stay in touch with them, they will call you. The law of influence. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. The client that I put under contract a few weeks ago that bought a $620,000 condo and is now selling their listing with me. That's the office exclusive listing I posted last week. I have been working them since 2021. I have known them since 2001, 2000. He was my first wrestling coach when I was in like 4th or 5th grade. So maybe 1998. I could not tell you how many houses I have shown them, how many times I've been by their house. And matter of fact, the husband even said towards the end of the showings, when we finally found one, that they would make it worth my while for all the time I've spent on them. And I told them, my job is to find your home and make your needs met. My job is not to show you 5 houses and make you buy one. As much as I'd love that, that's not always how it works. I also have some clients that look at one house and buy that one. They will average out. If you focus on the client's needs, your influence will grow. It's the same reason why I became a coach. I am a lot more comfortable with the content and how to structure my database or how to structure our business as a team because I got to teach it now. So I have to know it if I'm going to help you guys grow your business. And it helps build my business. I also have a roster of about 25 agents that I can call on for help if I need be. And hopefully you guys feel the same. Hopefully you feel that, hey, I have this coach in place. I'm more confident in the ability to grow my business. And let's take me out of it. But because you have a coach, you have a team leader, you have a director of first impressions / MCFS in Bronte, you have a GM in Kate, you have a director of education in Kim, you have a tech trainer in Rachel. You have all of these resources that are there to help you grow your business. Now, notice I did not say they are there at the drop of a hat or the blink of an eye, because that's not realistic. However, you do have these resources in place, and that's not even considering all the different tools and tech that are provided from Keller Williams, the resources on the Connect page or the Command, etc. And then 4 and 5, these are also important. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Be authentic. If you have no interest in working with investors trying to buy and hold or buy and flip houses, don't go after them. Sometimes it's a hard concept to understand in the beginning. And yet I will use myself as a prime example. There are certain types of clients that I do not specialize in because I haven't done them. And it is a better use of my time. And more importantly, it's a better value add to them, whether it be their best interest or even just better serving them, if I refer them to another agent. If somebody calls me and wants to sell land, yes, I can do it. Depending on where the land is, I might not be the best one served for it. I'll phrase this a little bit differently. If somebody calls me and wants to buy a house in Newport News, can I technically do it? Yes. However, then I have to build in a 2 to 3 hour drive time. I will only have limited availability or limited options to show. I'll have to coordinate different accesses because they don't use Sentry Lock, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. it would be a better service to my clients if I referred them to my agent friend that's down there and he took care of it. Do I make as much money? No. But it's a better service to that client. And I can focus on what I'm good at, which is the Richmond market. And then last, the law of receptivity, which is a hard word for me to say. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. The example I always give with this one, and I used it with Jackson last week, I do not care what the purchase price or sales price is. If I get a referral from a past client or a referral partner, I will work it. I have a client that bought a $175,000 condo in 2014 who has sent me, let's count, like 11 or 12 closed referrals. If I had brushed them off because it was $100 and some thousand condo, that, oh, by the way, was also a hero. So they got 25% of the commission at the time. They wanted to use their own lender and their own title person. So I didn't even get to use my preferred vendors. And yet they have sent me, they have bought 3 other properties since then. They have sent me their parents to buy and sell, which was $2 million because they sold in Salisbury and bought a bigger house in Salisbury. And they've sent me 2 or 3 other deals that have bought first-time home buyers too. So yeah, we're at like 11 or 12 closed transactions due to that one person. Because I was open to receiving that lead and working that lead, and then all the other laws took place. Okay, now if you Google the Go-Giver laws, these will pop up. So don't feel like you have to memorize them right now, but you should familiarize yourself with them. Obviously, you'll get the recording today too. You can take a little screenshot or a picture as well. But let's talk a little bit about accountability before we finish. So you've seen this slide before, hopefully, because I show it every week. We're working on creating a way for you to turn these in. So instead of just doing like a command email that comes in and makes you reply back, we're going to do like a Google form. Well, once a week, you'll be able to go back and submit these numbers. And then I'll have a spreadsheet to track them. The reason why is because this is what turns into sales. The number of conversations you're having, the number of people you have in your databases, how many appointments you're setting, and how many appointments you're going on. Agreements will come later, but you have to have appointments to get an agreement signed. So these build on themselves. I want you to get in the habit of tracking these technically every single day, but you're going to report them as far as a weekly count. Now, again, we're going to have a tool that'll make it easier for you to do this, whether it be through Google Form or something similar. We're also going to have little contests every week. So you might get entered to win a gift card. You might get entered to win a pack of stamps. You might get entered to win a pack of open house signs. There's going to be things that you can win if you do this regularly. That is meant to be more of a positive reinforcement because you should be doing this anyways because it helps your business. When I do a one-on-one meeting with a coach or with Kate or even with Beth to go over my business, we talk about these numbers. I have also realized that in the fall or in the winter of last year, it took about 70 to 80 conversations for me to book an appointment. Right now, it's like 56 to 58 conversations to book an appointment. I'm booking appointments quicker with less conversations. Now, some of that might be the subject of the market. More of it is what I'm saying to people in general and who I'm calling. That is because I've been tracking these numbers since we started taking bold, which was beginning of October. So these are some of the things that you can start to pull metric-wise, and then you can build a predictable business. Questions, thoughts, comments, concerns before we finish today? Well, I will plan on seeing everybody tomorrow. We will see what happens with the weather. Hopefully the weather holds off enough for us to get in there, get trained, and get home. If you need anything in the meantime, feel free to text, email, call, and we'll go from there. I'll send out an email later today with the recording from today's session. And yeah, that's it. Cool. Thank you, everybody. I will see y'all later.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank
Thank you.
you.